Hey, everybody knows what time it is. What time it is. Good evening, everybody. It is Syntext Live. And welcome, everybody. I hope you're all having a great week. I hope I'm coming in okay. Let me know if the audio is messed up in the chat box. And first things first, I do appreciate everybody who's been sending me comments and stuff all week. I did want to know if something was wrong with the audio with you hired the humans. Are you insane? I got a few people said I need to redo that one. I didn't know if they just didn't like it or what. They just said something's off. If somebody's going to critique my work, please let me know what I did wrong so I can fix it. Don't just say something's wrong. That's just irritating. Irritating to no end. So anyways, tonight's topic, I wanted to, and somebody else brought this up. You guys wanted me to go over a live story. Now, I don't have all the notes in front of me, but this is the overview of a story that I actually created a long time ago. I think I brought this up with you all. I was deployed, and somebody told me that I needed to, if I was really good at writing, I should come up with a story for a comic book. And somebody said Superman. I told them to give me a freaking challenge. And they said JLU, yada, yada, yada. I had to look up to see what that was because I was so out of it when it came to all the comics at that point that I didn't even know what JLU was. Turns out there's two different meanings, but it all comes down to where everybody comes together. And as we know, Western comics have gone down the toilet. Now we're watching them spin as they go down. There's a couple nuggets left, but they're pretty much down the hopper right now, which really, really sucks. And somebody wanted me to bring in a new, hold on, what the hell is this? Sorry, I had a little mishap on the side. Somebody wanted me to bring in a new storyline. But as you know, it's difficult to do that when a lot of stories have already been made and you got a shit ton of characters. And when I say a shit ton, I mean a lot. And they have some people that have adventures off in the ether that blow your mind. I'm sure a few of you are sitting there probably nodding like, yeah, they've done a lot with comics and most of it doesn't make sense. Regardless of all that, I did come up with something, and I actually came across the geneticists, which is one of the reasons why it kind of stuck in my head. The ones who created the Supergirl clone in one storyline. Now I'm like, how can I use this? Now, if you're using preset characters, you need, again, to make sure you pay homage to them or stay as close as you possibly can. By the way, yes, it's beer. It's the root variety. I didn't feel like getting wasted tonight. So I just need to wet my whistle a little. The whole premise was I wanted to see what I could do with that. I mean, it's a gold mine. There's not much you can't do with it. But I already had the scenario. Like I said, you start with the situation. So I had to create a character. I created a character who was basically a beta test. It comes with bugs in the system. Okay, certain bugs in the system, it's just going to happen. And the character was just like somebody watching, just a regular person that they used as they were trying to make superhero or anti-superhero weapons. So they wanted to see what they could squeeze in, and this person was still going to be alive. And the character, now most in the story is this told in backstory, kind of like they did with Wolverine, where he's lived so long, a lot of the stuff is like, this is what happened to me back in the day, where he was plowing Magneto's wife and watching Magneto's kids do each other, which I literally said, guys, what are you thinking when you did that one? I was just like, wow. I know Logan gets around, but yeesh. Regardless of that, what happened was you get this amalgamation of abilities, but because they're not completely controllable, except for certain circumstances, they are completely uncontrollable. At least that you can only get them to about 80%. Like case in point, the guy is an extremely strong telepathic, but he has to make physical contact. If he can't do that, he can't read your mind or anything. He's not Xavier, which I thought was kind of a cheat skill. I mean, seriously, can't this guy just go in and scramble everybody's brain? When you actually let these characters off the hook, you get characters like Plastic Man, who can literally take down the entire Justice League in a weekend and kind of joke during the whole time. Kind of like Batman, but Batman serious. Anyways, not only that, the guy is the strongest telekinetic you're ever going to find, especially when he gets pissed. There's actually a scene where he puts every single lantern ring on his fingers, yes, to include life and death, and he just goes absolutely whole ham. But there's a lot in the backstory on that. But when you're building a character like this, you got to be careful not to make them too OP. Okay, don't overpower them, because if you lose them being human, you know what you get? You get someone, how do I put this? Your customers are going to sit there and go, how am I associated with this? How am I supposed to link in with this? How am I supposed to ever possibly think of myself even close to this situation? I know there's escapism, but everybody wants to associate with the character, which is why I'm sure a lot of you, since you like the ambush predators, yeah, everybody knows about hunting. Everybody knows about waiting and needing to get patience, and especially having to teach kids how to do it. But I digress. I'm getting off topic. I had to make sure that this character had something that's going to tie him to being human, and I found it. I found it because his backstory, just like all of them, kind of grabs him by the nuts and twists really, really hard. And just as Reader's Digest version, for those of us old enough to remember what the hell Reader's Digest used to be. Yeah, I know a few of you are just like, oh my God, I forgot about all that. Yeah. The guy was used as the experiment. He eventually was able to get a psychic yell out, because when they're cutting him open, seeing how his body is healing up, it's not actually a healing factor. It's a healing trance like Raven does, or Saturn Girl. He just basically puts himself into a coma, but he's still conscious. Well, guess who can hear that? Ace. And everybody in comics knows about Ace. Everybody in comics will always say Ace is one of the most sympathetic characters ever. She didn't want those powers. She was way too young to understand what the hell was going on. She was way too young to understand what's going on, even when she got to almost a teenager, and then they, screwed her up even worse, and then her powers went out of control. However, in this storyline, don't worry, Sin. I'll get to that. I will. I just wanted to get this first part out, and we will jump to it. And by the way, it's actually in my notes. I'll even show you the notes if you want. Regardless, what happens is he's screaming so much in his head. Ace can hear that, but the thing is, she's like, even with her dorky little helmet that keeps her from hearing psychic powers, she's like thrashing around, and they can't sedate her because all she can hear is screaming in her head. And eventually she reaches out psychically and she gets Galatea, which is Supergirl's clone. Well, guess who actually gets mentally kind of instructed to go and get this guy free? Is Galatea, who he eventually does just call Taya because he doesn't like the long names. And yes, by the way, with Gretnar, originally I was going to shorten the name, but I didn't know if I wanted to call a hot chick Grek or Nar. Neither of those sounded right. So in any case, they break out, and the guy doesn't understand his actual deepest power is a dimensional jumper. The reason he doesn't know that is because he's never needed to. Unfortunately, you got a guy who is mentally strong enough to subdue the entire Justice League by concentrating, and you got a out of control Kryptonian, and you got a young girl who could, again, with a thought, turn your insides to your outsides, back to your insides, out your nose and up your ass, all at the same time. Very dangerous. So they send a hit team. They make one mistake. They don't shoot him first. Now, at this point, Ace is already gone. She's at that point, they haven't extended her psychic ability, so she's still able to control it. She separates as a teenager and does her own thing. And then you got the character I made with Galatea. They shoot her, which immediately flips a switch in his head. He does he's able to make a type of energy shield. Again, I know I made the character OP, but his energy shield is like you're blinking. He doesn't actually control it. Because of that, it turns on when they shoot him with the kryptonite laser that just pierced through Galatea's back. It sends him flying. By the time he comes up, her and the child she's carrying are both perforated. So you can imagine how much somebody's going to flip the fuck out at that. He goes on an unholy crusade. He kills everybody at Cadmus. I mean, down to the fucking janitor. And the Justice League tries to stop him, and he doesn't care. He will friggin' take Plastic Man and tie him in a nice little bow and flick him into the universe. You know, just enjoy the ether, motherfucker. Oh, you can't hear me from up there? Well. But after that, once he's got his revenge, he loses it. He actually has a psychic break, even after he does a Kryptonian funeral, and he sends the body of his, I guess you'd say, wife. I don't know if I ever wrote that they got married, off into the sun, which is standard for most people who do sci-fi. And you know, it's the same thing with anybody who's been on board ship. You know, if somebody dies, you cast them off in that ceremonial fashion. And again, he actually loses it. It is actually like Wonder Woman's right next to him, going to like support him, and he's just like just screaming out of his freaking mind. And all of a sudden, poof, he disappears. What you find out is he can actually jump between dimensions, but he can't quite control the where, when, and how on that. Like if he jumped to the very next dimension, it might be 600 years in the past or 5,000 years in the future. Unless he's like focusing like really, really hard, he can't do that. Or if he has some sort of anchor, which is where you first see him, where a a Power Girl, which is Galatea, by the way, is getting her ass kicked. I believe I put Bizarro in there. And when he's about ready to kill her, the last thought she has is like screaming, "Somebody help me." Well, when this guy's between dimensions, he can hear that. And he blinked in. And Bizarro just like comes down, clunk. Shouldn't my hand have gone through something? And you realize the guy's legs are buried like that deep into the ground. And he just looks up. He sees her in the ground, looks at him. He goes back and remember I said he's a telekinetic. He launches Bizarro like beyond lunar orbit. He's just like, "Get the fuck out of here, dude. Before I, turn your legs inside out and shove them up your own butt." I mean, just don't, no. And he picks her up, calls up the watchtower, and then that's when you start realizing you don't hear his backstory until later. However, that's when you get the whole, he gets introduced, you find his name, the guy walks around, he wears a duster very similar to what's back right there, but he's got like a black cowboy hat and stuff like that. He looks like a Western, but he doesn't talk like that. He actually has a Bostonian accent, which I actually put in there for shits and giggles, by the way. But when you have the situation and you set up the character, as long as you don't adjust from there, remember, if you're building a story, as long as you keep those two constant, you're good. If you want to change the character, you have to show development. All right, so that's the end of my beginning rant, and I will show you. And again, well, this is the one that's coming out tonight. It's actually a separate story. But on my other notes, number 19, Ambush Predator, right there. I even got the thumbnail made. I just haven't got the rest of everything lined up. But that won't be coming out tonight. It'll come out tomorrow night. So I know you had to wait until I finish my rant there. 69. Seriously, why not? But that's when the next one is coming out. And the reason I brought up the whole JLU is to just show you that when you have a existing product, you have to work with it, but you can have fun with it. And that's another thing I want to talk about tonight is you can actually have a lot of fun with a character like this. If you set up your character correctly, you're actually going to laugh yourself before anybody else does. In particular, there's at one point, this guy gets faced by a couple supervillains, and they're like, "You're going to come with us." And he's like, "Yeah, fuck off." And he mentally just messes him up. One, he just hates, so he hurts that guy. But with most of them, as they're stuck, remember he's telekinetic, so there's like in the force hold, like what the fuck, what the hell, how the what the, he just walks up and touches them on the forehead or even on the arm, and he makes them subdue themselves the fun way, where the girls are doing the shaking and suddenly loss of fluids, and then their eyes roll back in their head, and everybody knows where that is. And even if they can get up, they're not going to want to, but they're going to enjoy themselves at that point. And yes, he does the same thing with the guys, but the kicker is on that, it's actually dangerous for men to expel that much at once. Again, sticking with standard biology. And yes, I did have to check that one out. And I was actually typing in going, I can't believe I got to look this shit up. But it is true. That can actually kill a guy. For women, not so much. It simply puts you in a coma for about maybe 2 hours at most. Regardless, hold on, I need a sip. Refreshing. But yeah, that's one funny part. And right behind that, you get Lex Luthor's butler / bodyguard, Mercy, walks up. Now, you got to remember, this guy has been in different dimensions, so he gets confused. So he turns around, and she's like, Mr. Luthor wants to talk to you. He turns around, looks at her, and goes, Mercy! Picks her up, starts waving her around, all those things. Like, oh, shit, that's right. Sorry about that. Yeah, let's go talk to your boss. It's just a goofy situation. Just like he ends up fixing Blackfire, because if you watch the comics, Blackfire has a mutation. Again, this guy, since he's able to look not only telepathically, but telekinetically, he can actually break that down into below the cellular level. Not quite quantum level, but he can get down there and actually fix conditions. The thing is, Blackfire gets a little enamored with him. The problem is he won't touch her. And not because she's an alien. I know a lot of you guys are thinking, well, this guy writes about guys fucking aliens all the time. Well, no, not this one. This has more to do with the fact that she's got to rule the planet, and half the planet's going to freak out if she takes a husband that's not Tamba Submarine. And yeah, there's that. You got to, again, bring the person back to being human. And that's kind of the point of these streams, is so we can actually talk about, I mean, if you guys want to talk about something, it can bring up a subject, and, we can talk about story development. If anybody has a story idea, again, I'll write that. I have a bunch of these you guys sent in. I just haven't been able to get to them. And I do have to say this on a definite side note. I'm sorry I haven't been able to get everything out once a day like I usually do. It's been kind of crazy. It's hunting season. I got my doe, and I spent the entire day processing that bitch out. And I only say bitch because we didn't have everything we needed. So it was a little bit more difficult. And the fact that there was a ricochet somewhere inside that went up that way and kind of ruined a whole bunch of meat. So, I mean, it kind of sucked that we lost so much of it, but we still got freaking 80 pounds of meat, which is more than enough for me. Which, oh, by the way, I wanted to say that the one that's coming out tonight, this one, you'll know it's me because on the bottom, it's all about a human hunting party. And on the bottom, it says, be very, very quiet. Yeah, we all know where that one's coming from. All in all, yeah, I like putting Easter eggs for you guys. If you guys think the Easter eggs are stupid, let me know. If you enjoy them, I'll keep putting them in. Sometimes you just got to have a little bit of a chuckle in the middle. Like I do weird stuff. There's actually one, I'm sure you guys remember, at the very end of the last Predators, Greknar was not too happy. She was definitely not happy over the idea of her husband having a female assistant. Gee, I wonder, could Greknar be the, I don't know, jealous type? Possibly. You'll have to continue to find out. Though I did, some of you guys, your comments are just hilarious. Okay, they are absolutely hilarious on that. And I am on this floor rolling, absolutely rolling, because some of the stuff you guys say. Will I be doing more with the Pokemon-like universe? I had a whole series planned for that, but I didn't get a lot of views. If I'm assuming Miss Erica, because I'm gonna mispronounce your last name for certain. But if you guys want that, I will gladly do it. Let me put a note here. Let me flip back to where I was, and I'll put the note. Pokemon. Now, I will say this: I cannot say that word on the whole thing, and that's a copyright issue. I'd like to. I would have loved to have said it straight up, but that's why I said the whole thing about they were chasing a yellow rat about the size of a corgi. You know, I had to say it that way. I know some of you take it personal about that, and that's why I said the woman in white. We all know what the fuck that is. I can't pronounce it worth the dog shit, but everyone knows what that is. I mean, seriously, you can't look anything on that up with the, family filter turned off without that coming up. And seriously, it's to the point where I actually turn the filter back on when I'm searching for thumbnails so I can have for you guys. It's terrible. A lot of times it's just annoying. You'd be surprised when I put alien stuff in. You're doing one of these half the time. Just like, okay, but yeah, the Pokemon universe. Now, was there any confusion on any of that when I did it? I wasn't sure if I put everything correctly. It was one of those that just came to me, and I was like, you know what? And I started jotting notes real fast, and I spent probably 3 or 4 hours getting some of the finer details down, parts I didn't want to miss. And then, I did it. Actually, I did that one twice because it was the first third of the way through. I was like, oh, fuck, I missed a point. Oh, God, they're going to kill me if okay, back it up. Let's do this over again. And it was right off the bat, too. I will say that some people did seem a little confused, so I do have to iron one thing out. The whole point of that is the world itself was dying, and they needed to actually alter reality to keep us all from dying. So the only way they could make it work was to hook it up to a child. Now, granted, you can have a child watching the actual nature channel for the next, 69, 68 days to try and make sure that's all they think about. But let's face it, kids going to be kids. Unfortunately, it's semi-permanent. This can actually alter. That whole universe can change from the Pokemon. I still have no idea. Is it Pokey? The only Pokey I know of was Gumby's friend. So, yeah. But yeah, there was going to be a whole bunch to that. And no, it had very little to do with the lady in white. Although, how horrific would it be knowing that you see something flying through the air, another flying rodent with a long tail, knowing if this thing looks at you weird, you're not going to be around for more than a half a heartbeat. That's horrific, actually. That could be, in all honesty, if I wanted to, that could be a mountain of horror and gore. But I tried to keep it a little lighter. At least I tried to. Unfortunately, I'm not very well-versed in the Pokemon universe. The only thing I know of is that my nephew collects the cards, and I keep telling him to sell the fucking things because he's probably sitting on a couple grand worth of the cards. So if there's a certain one you want me to talk about, whether it's something that goes to the ground, flies through the air, or swims in the sea, just let me know on that. Now, for those who are watching Ambush Predators, don't worry. It took me at least 2 or 3 episodes to actually get it lined up because originally it wasn't meant to be expanded on. But everybody wanted me to expand on it, so I'm doing what you guys want. That's exactly what's going to happen. You guys request something, I will do my damnedest to make it happen. I will say there are certain stories that I would have to redo the whole damn thing to make it so I could extend on it. It's not set up for that. Ambush predators, that's why the time jump. So if you are wondering why they jump farther ahead, it wasn't just so they could get away from the kids in diapers. They still have a couple there. It was more along the lines of I needed to get past the peace after war area. That's the whole point. Just like we got all this stuff happening on the other side of the planet from where I'm sitting, when everything dies down, there will be a time of peace. It's just what happens. It's just part of who we are. It's just humanity itself. It is what it is, and I can't change that. All I can do is write stories that touch on it. Now, if there's anything, if there's any other subjects you guys want, you're going to have to put it in the comments. I think you guys see it on this side. I don't know. I see it on this side. So if there's anything else you guys want to bring up, if not, I'm just going to go over a few more items and we're going to call it good. It's going to be a short one. So again, it's on all of you to figure or to bring up what you want to hear. Now, I do have to go back to this, unless another subject comes up, this Justice League that I helped to work with that extra character. You get to have some more fun with that. In particular, who here knows about the whole Green Lantern CGI show where Razor's looking for Aya? That was anybody who's into comics knows about this one. That's a huge thing. And I will say, when they go and ask this guy, hey, can you help us out? Can he? Mm-hmm. Am I going to tell you any more than that? Mm-hmm. Nope. That's just something I would hope that one of them, the producers or something, would see this and be like, okay, we're interested. And before I tell them anything, I'm going to say the same thing they said in Goodfellas. Fuck you, pay me. You know, they don't have to go crazy. I can do the whole thing from pretty much where I'm sitting. As long as some producer doesn't, sit here and, well, I don't like the way this is doing. Well, this is the way I'm writing it. So here's a rope, go piss up it, And the hell? Oh, I got Chinooks flying outside. We're Air National Guard is actually fairly close, so we can actually hear them. It's actually weird when they fly that C-130s like right over our heads, and just the hairs in the back of my neck just shoot right up. Okay, where did the slime in the elevator come from? Oh, the inspiration. Okay, well, that's kind of weird to actually say, because I had just seen the movie The Blob maybe about a month before I came up with that. No, that wasn't the key thing. But I saw somebody was doing a CGI test, and it was kind of a little short horror skit. And it was supposed to be you walk in, you see your reflection, and then the actual reflection starts to melt and go down the wall. And then I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. This is interesting. And they were testing the effects. And I'm going through each of these, and eventually I get some. I'm laughing so damn hard, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, literally, the guy's walking, or somebody, no, it was a woman walking in, and some guy is sharing time with a slime that has literally just an ass sticking out of the wall. And I'm just sitting there like, oh God, guys, really? I fell over laughing. And I'm just like, okay. It went from horror to funny, and I just kept clicking through. And then it's like, I wonder, what if there was a slime in the elevator? How would that come out? And that was the story. That was where it was born. Is I got inspiration from other folks' work, which honestly, that's what happens with a lot of people. The Incredible Hulk was inspired by Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and stuff like that. It's very difficult to come up with absolutely your own, never been inspired by anything else except what's in between your ears type stuff. I think they said that all the stories have been told. Now, the kicker with the slime story is it was originally meant to be a horror. It wasn't meant to be funny or entertaining or, suggestive like those were. It was more that one scene where the slime actually reached out, grabbed the main character, and was dragging him back in. that was one of the scenes that was stuck in here, and I had to get that out and eventually down on paper. And that story in particular, I was actually reading it. I didn't actually have to go by notes. This is something I wrote a long time ago. And the whole thing is like, well, if the slime is dragging him in, is it going to eat him? Is it going to crush him? I mean, what's going on? And, at that point, he had already seen the slime take somebody and wring him like a bath towel. So, yeah. And that's why the slime at one time turns red, because it starts drinking so much blood, it changes. And oddly enough, if you guys watch the, what the hell was that show? It's a anime. Somebody told me to watch it. It wasn't too bad. The guy was a farmer, and one of the slimes drinks all the wine and turns red. I was like, okay, you guys been listening to my shit. So, hey. But yeah, you get inspiration where it comes from. And what the fuck? No, my phone just chimed at me. I thought something else happened. But anybody else got anything for the comments? It's because I'm here for you guys. That's why I do this every Wednesday. I screwed up last week and it had to be Thursday. If you guys would prefer a different day, just let me know. Either put it in the comments here or comments if you watch this later, and I will definitely be looking at it, because I check the comments out at least twice a day. I might not be really good at checking emails, but I definitely check the comments every day, at least once or twice a day. And because I always put the thumbs up next to them, as long as it's not one of those, well, you need to re-record this. Why? Give me a fucking reason, will you? Jeez. Now, what was it? I had it also in these notes. I want to go over the series that a lot of you were talking about, and you wanted me to continue on. The one, Are We Still Human Enough? Where they went in the pods to be their health done, and they came out and they're not, most of them are not human anymore. Out of all of them, I think I wrote one woman. The only thing that changed is she got more girth to her. That was about it in all the places you expect it to. Flying bricks. I can't expand that. It's going to get very, how do I put that? If that gets expanded upon, it's not going to be a whole lot of fighting, because everyone's just going to be basically after human technology at that point, after they see what our flying bricks can do. So, that's going to be more aliens fighting over our shit. The isekai, the summon to another world. Yes, that is actually, it's right here. It's going to be expanded on eventually. For right now, I am focusing almost primarily on ambush predators. So once that one actually gets through this, I guess, saga portion, then I'm going to be moving on to the next one. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on. I'm not going to be making a lot of brand new stuff. I will be expanding on others because that's what everybody wants. The job with the time management problem. Now, that one didn't go over super well, but it went over well enough that will be expanded upon. That has more, I don't want to ruin anything, but you don't know if it's time, place, what, when, where, or how. It's got more of a Doctor Who vibe mixed with Quantum Leap / with sliders / with what the fuck is that? Let's see. There's ambush predators. Okay, humans are low energy. Absolutely. That one is definitely going to be expanded upon. I know you guys like that one. And just remember, in there, all humans are healers. And that one, actually, I can say that another HFY author was the inspiration for that. I was listening to other people's stuff as I was driving, and that one came up, said all humans are healers. And now, granted, that had more of a mystic tone to it. Mine is all, or mostly, scientific based, at least as much as I can try when we're dealing with goblins and shit. So understand that one. But it's has almost no actual, or the original one that I got inspiration from had almost no actual modern day or science fiction or anything. It was all, we're just healers. And I'm just like, this needs something that people can grab a hold of. And also, something that people are giving me shit about that I need to expand on. They call us monsters. Yes, that one is on the list. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different stories, one of which is being worked on right now. And they will all be expanded upon in time. So I just want to make sure that you all know, yes, I do listen. Yes, I do take notes on it. Yes, I do want to actually, I got another one here. Just like I got one here that says, do one on the nature of predators. That's actually in my notes. Yeah. And that came from a live stream from you guys. So whichever one you guys want to talk about. What the, oh, that's the fan kicking on. Sorry. I hate, if you guys can hear that, I'm sorry. I try to take that out when the fan goes off all the time. But, I have my limits on what I can do. Now, I do have to actually run this by you guys and just give me a yes or no in the chat. Is it okay if my thumbnails are a bit suggestive? I know that turns some people off. I don't know if it's good. If it's fine, just put in it's fine. But some of the, I hate to say, but it's a little clickbaity. But when you're talking about people who genetically altered themselves, yeah, you're gonna have people that look kind of pretty, prettier than me. And I will say there is going to be a Veterans Day special that comes out, not live stream. I have to say this one is not going to be live stream. It is going to be just a simple Veterans Day specific story. I've already been getting the notes down. I've already been breaking it down. There's a few areas I have to adjust on, but it will come out. And yes, I will try to hit the holidays as best I can. Unfortunately, I screwed up on the Halloween one, and that one came out about a day late. That was meant to be, and a few people were like, "What the fuck is this?" I actually got that. It was, what the hell is it? What am I listening to? Because they came for an HFY, and there was no HFY in the title. If it's not specifically that, but in any case, sorry, I talk so fast. I think my tongue broke. Hold on. Go for it. Okay, Mike, I will definitely go and I will use whatever I need. Because actually that's what stopped me from using the hot little Pokemon for the title card, because I thought I'd get in trouble. Last thing I need is to get demonetized over a thumbnail. I mean, come on. It's bad enough you start to wonder if those Pokemon are male or female when you look at them. Just like, it's a trap, Which, yes, I know a few people got a little weirded out when I used that about the Nishani, how when they go through genetic editing, they all look the same unless you take the pants off. And I just thought it'd be funny, guys. I wanted to throw in a joke. So I don't know if that went, the yellow rat is a mouse. Okay, yeah. Are you talking? I'm assuming you're talking my thumbnail. Or are you talking about the one that it shoots lightning out its ball sack? Yeah. In any case, yeah, I got to be careful on the thumbnail sometimes, just for that reason, the suggestive. Now, especially when I did warning, humans will mate with anything. Yes, that one. I actually got a message from YouTube that says this is barely within the bounds. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to watch that for a second. And that was the first time I did try a little off the cuff stuff at the end. And apparently you guys like that. I was going to try it again, but I need a certain situation for it. Excuse me. Now, as far as I wanted to bring up about the whole isekai that was over there, the one where the guy got summoned to the other world. Understand all that he's not the only human, and who says only they were summoned? Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So there is that. See, I'm going over. I want to make sure I hit everything in my notes, so I'm going over it like 6 times, unless you guys have a subject matter you want to cover. I will say this though. when it comes to HFY stories, and this is what most of you like. I know there's a lot of sci-fi folks who say ground invasions are pointless. That is bullshit. The reason being is you're trying to capture the planet. You want the people, you want the resources. Blowing up the planet doesn't make sense. If that's what you want, why destroy what you desire? Unless it's a military action where you're trying to deny the enemy resources, why in the ever-loving hell of a front-flipping flying fuck would you destroy a planet? That's why I look at Star Wars like, what? You have all these guys in white Play-Doh suits, and you're not sending them down there just to subdue the world? What the fuck is wrong with you? You know, it didn't make sense. And when you actually study their galactic map, it makes even less sense because it's just like right where you're not supposed to have an asteroid field. Yes, I do make fun of Star Wars a lot. Yes, but you know what? I've looked into it enough times, and I've been on guard with somebody who's a Star Wars encyclopedia, and I just got tired of it. And it would drive you crazy. I mean, almost as bad as the Trekkie treks, but you know, it is what it is. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and say you shouldn't watch the Trekkie treks as far as science fiction. I'll just say that in all science fiction, you could remove almost every single one of the captains and you would have a better show. It is terrible. The sub characters are so much better, and I give the hat tip to the side characters and the actors that play them. They do such a good job. It is just crazy how well a job they do, at least most of them. And that's one thing. If I did actually get something on film, I would be adamant about having the side characters get as much screen time as possible. Okay. Where was I? I mean, besides sitting here talking to you guys, where was I? Well, I was actually waiting to see if anybody else was going to chime in. If nobody else chimes in on another subject in the next, like, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, I'm going to be calling this one because I'm looking at the people watching, and it's really not that many. Not right now. Usually other folks watch later and get a little bit. Now, I do have to say another thing about the JLU. When you actually, the first lines you ever say is to Batman, and you're going, leave it alone, Bruce. Yeah, usually that's enough for Batman to back up and go, oh shit, maybe I need to reevaluate. That's the point of that character, by the way, because as their dimensional jumper, they basically have read all the comics and or lived through it. So they know everybody's secret identity. They know everybody's weakness, what everybody has an affinity to. He's been in a relationship of one sort of another with every super villain or every super heroine there is. The guy gets around more. He gets more ass than a toilet seat. I mean, seriously, not as much as you would think considering how old he is. When you find out that he can psychically change his age, not deliberately, but he can do it, you find out that this guy's been around every dimension, had like years-long relationships with people like Stargirl. Yes, I know in this dimension she's 17, but in the other dimension, he started dating her when she was 18 all the way till she was 20. I think I had 26, 25, 26. And they didn't break up. She was killed. And she was he lost his shit. And no, I didn't try to get this guy to have a thing with blondes. He does go after Wonder Woman at one point. Actually, she pursues him. But it turns out that that's because her mother told her to. She wanted children to be really strong, just like, oh, Wonder Woman suddenly is screwing Superman to have strong children. And then she has a boy and basically treats him like garbage. I'm like, why? Because he's a boy. It's just one of those things. And stuff like that's the reason why the character does not like Wonder Woman. He calls her out on it. He's like, I met your son. Your son's cool. You're a bitch. You know, it's just straight to her face. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe you would say that. Well, truth hurts. It's a good old kick to the ovaries for Wonder Woman. So, you know, there's that. And then, of course, he's like, get out of my face, Boy Scout. I don't care what you have to say. Get off your high horse, you freaking outside the pants, underwear wearing whatever. You know, just kind of let him go. He doesn't like Batman much either. He really doesn't like much of the Justice League. He gets along really well with the Flash, though. They joke around a lot. And I actually used a conversation that I had with one of the guys I used to work with. Well, he was in another station when I was an Army recruiter. And when we talk to each other, we're actually having a conversation, but to the outside, it's all gibberish. He's like, "How you doing?" No, it fucking sucks. You take anything for it? Yeah, I took a glass of what the fuck, and then I took some pills. I got off, www.whatthefuck.com, and, a little snorted a little what the fuck and all this. And he's egging this on, and he's got his own stuff, and if somebody's doing that, they're just let him do it. But that's the way he talks with like Deadpool, and he's really good friends with Deadpool. And I will have to do a small spoiler alert if I am ever able to make this story without getting copyright infringed, is where he's standing next to Deadpool and he's like, "Yeah, don't worry, Wade, I'm your friend too." And Deadpool's like, "Huh?" Pulls out his pistol, tries to shoot the character in the leg. Remember, he can turn that shield on. And all of a sudden, the bullet actually ricochets, hit Deadpool in the foot. He's like, "Dumbass." And then he walks away. It's just that simple. It's like, okay, you guys want to be that way. Because the thing is, he would be in the realm of the immortals. And it's a whole different set of characters. Deadpool, the Hulk, they're immortal. The Thing is almost immortal. Thor, basically. You got all these different ones. And when you have that, it actually changes the mentality. So if you are going to actually make a character for your own stories that is not confined by mortality, he or she might not be confined by morality, which I actually found out why the Teens Titans character called Madame Rouge, she's basically Stretch Armstrong, but with a uterus. And she's immortal too. She'll never age. And she's nuts. I mean, she's got no moral compass at all. So just keep that in mind. Some people just lose their minds at that point. Don't get me wrong. They release the actual quantum generator and I can, fix this meat suit of mine. I'm all in for it. I'll live the next 10,000 years. I'm good. I got my land. I got my chickens out there. I shoot a deer every once in a while. I'm good. I'll go get my fishing license. Which, by the way, if the story coming out tonight does well with the hunting, don't worry, fishing is next. And we'll go on from there if it seems like a good possible story. Let's see. I will, just to end on this, and this is just a way of showing that somebody can be, if you're making a character and they're kind of out there, almost overpowered, sometimes you got to show that they don't realize they are, or there's something weird about them that they don't realize. In particular, my character, when he's between dimensions, which he calls the void, if he is carrying somebody, as long as he's holding on to them, they don't get lost. If he lets go, they just get sucked into the nearest dimension like instantly. But the first time he brings someone in is actually Shaira, Hot Girl. She looks up at him. He looks down at her and she freaks out, tries to get away. He's like, "What's wrong?" She's like, "You have no eyes." He's like, "Oh, shit." And then he puts glasses on just to try and make it, because he actually sees things in like 5 dimensions in the void. It's crazy. SS Demon, I don't have time to stick around, have to leave for work, but I'll come back and finish what I missed later. You're not going to miss much. I'm about to close down. Keep up the awesomeness, man. Awesomeness. Awesome, dude. You are awesome. Love the work you're doing. I actually look forward to your work. I'm glad you do. I'm glad when anybody enjoys the work I do. I've been trying to do as much as I can. I've been looking into some sound effects too, as well. The problem is people are trying to charge me $50-$60 for one-time use sound effects. And I'm telling them a good old fuck you, because I am not paying that much for a sound effect of Cartman farting or something. it doesn't. No, I'm being a little facetious, but you get my point. There are limits, and I do this on a shoestring budget. This is my side gig. I'm retired, and when I'm not helping out family or working around here or something else is pulling me away, I'm making content for you guys. So that's what I do. And I enjoy making the content for you. I just need everybody out there, if you're listening, make sure you give critiques whenever possible so that I can make better content. And if I'm screwing up, please don't just say, hey, you screwed up. Actually focus on something so I can fix it. Okay. So anyways, to recap tonight, I would have honestly just sat here and did the whole Justice League story. However, we'd be here for a good 2 hours as I hit every single point that's there. I just wanted to bring up that if you have a character who is introduced, who is a lot older, you do have to do a lot of stuff in backstory, but that also plays into the current character. And I want to bring up another part that makes him human. And this, I actually have to thank the guys who made Iron Man for this one, because every time you bring up the subject of this guy's original dimension and his wife and kid, this is what he does. But he's doing whiskey, and he'd actually finish that off. It's like throughout the story, every time that comes up, he's just like, bring me a bottle now. And no matter what he does, he can't drink his troubles away. If even a molecule of him remains, his body will slowly come back. And then he's just like, well, fuck. And when he's between dimensions, he doesn't age at all. No matter what he does, he can't kill himself. He can't do nothing. He doesn't even feel pain when he's in there. But that's because he's between dimensions, and most rules that we go by don't apply. But again, humanize your characters, people. You have to humanize a human character. And the character I was talking about is 100%, okay, I'll say about 85% human. Since they did what they did to him, he's kind of, screwed up. All in all, again, I will catch you guys on the flip side, because I've had single digits people watching since I started at 6:30, and I kind of expected a few more, and there's not a lot in the comments section. So I guess that's going to be it. I do thank everybody for joining me tonight on Syntext Live, and I will catch you all next week. Until then, send in your comments on the stories, and I'll catch you next time. This is Syntext ejecting.